To chainsaw or not to chainsaw. It's not even a question. Of course chainsaw, always chainsaw. Today we will be getting through volumes 4 and 5 of Chainsaw Man, and I'm quite excited to say that I'm becoming comfortable with Chainsaw Man. It's not my favorite series, I wouldn't even say I love it, but I'm hitting a place, especially with these 2 volumes, where it's just a very comfortable read. There's something about the mania that actually, like, dissipates the storm of life. Does that make sense at all? But let us go ahead and resume a quite pleasant read-through. Why is Chainsaw Man becoming like the nice stroll in a park of all the mangas I've read? Of course, where we left off, our crew was in rough shape. Assassination attempts, people dying, bullets to the head, but as we will see, the amount of loss isn't quite as much as we thought it would be. Because we see Denji and the machete, I assume, Super Devil, are fighting back and forth. Unfortunately for Denji, there's also people helping out this machete devil who have guns, and so it's, I'd say, a bit unfair. 1v1, private lobby, let's go. Denji even starts having cuts on him he doesn't even remember getting, I assume because this super machete devil can move so fast. In fact, we even see he like crouches down and then does like the anime appear behind him thing. So I assume maybe this guy has 2 devil powers? Can you compound, multiply, divide, subtract devil powers? I'd love to know. And Denji gets completely cut in half, as well as one of the super devil's like subordinates showing he's like, I don't care about my people, I'll kill whoever. But they start picking up Denji's body and trying to take it to a car, and we see a cut to one of the people who's in charge of this attack saying, even devil hunters are only human. They can't win against guns. Yeah, I don't know a single person who could just win against the concept of a firearm. Point made. But cutting back to the team that tried to assassinate Makima, we see she has stood up with blood trickling from her head. And from there we cut to a couple agents who were supposed to meet her at the train station hearing about the attack and being like, oh my god, Makima might be dead. But then she just walks down the platform soaking in blood like, nope, not dead. And we see the aftermath of what she did to these people, and oh my god, what is Makima and why do I like it? They start heading to help up what's left of Denji's team, going to a private location where a bunch of people are actually kneeling for Makima to use, and we see that members of this team who are trying to take Denji's apparently very heavy body start erupting like they're just one giant. One of them even begins like deflating, and this is awesome. I have no idea what her devil is, but consider me intrigued. We do see that Kenobi Kamino, something sounding Star Wars, this woman, she actually survived her attack, so she shows up to help rescue Denji's unconscious corpse or body. Denji. She does some incredible athletics to then jump behind someone and shoot them in the back twice, resulting in a depiction of bullet holes I've never seen. That's a cool depiction of a bullet hole. And after using Denji's body for cover, the assassin squad do flee, realizing there's no way they're gonna be able to get Denji's massive corpse into that van while being attacked. She, though, is not in the best state as she recounts the agent who saved her life, and she ends this recounting by saying, I can't take it anymore. This job is going to drive me crazy. When I see Miss Himeno, I'm telling her I quit. And it's kind of sad because we know she's dead. Over the next few pages, though, it's covered that many members of this force are turning in their resignation. People are just like, this is becoming too dangerous, too much blood. I'd rather just try and make it in the private sector. Aki wakes up in the hospital with Denji and Power by his side. I'm like, oh, they care. Nope, they're there to steal his get well food, apparently. Friendship. He asks his devil, who's apparently the curse demon, how much long he has left, and we see this mouth next to his ear whisper, 2 years. And that is some horrifying imagery. Denji comes back and sees Aki crying and thinks, came back as I left my manga and he's crying. Awkward. Well, of course he's crying. A bunch of his work pals bit it, I guess. And his buddy Himeno is dead too. Makes sense. Wait a sec. I've got nothing. I can't, like, cry at all. And Denji starts going over the fact that he's lost just as many people as Aki. He's not as close to them, but still he's losing people he knew, and he doesn't feel anything. He's not feeling bad or angry even, and he starts wondering if he even has a human heart. He ends this though by saying, whatever, forget the serious stuff. Unhappy thoughts will only make you unhappy. Come on, let's go see Makima. We see Makima though is taking some action in response to this attack, and now Denji and Power are going to be under the tutelage of one of the best human devil hunters in existence, and he is going to be teaching them to essentially become the best devil hunters they can be as fiend super devils themselves. And he starts this training by breaking their necks, bringing them back to life with blood, because that's how they heal, and being like, I'm going to make this rough. And at the end of their training that day, we see Denji has died 20-ish times. Wow. I was wondering like how he healed so quickly from being cut in half, but I guess like if he heals through blood, they got aid to him, they can just like flood him with blood and Denji can heal from being sliced in two. I wonder if bisected? Believe it or not, we're actually gonna get an answer to that somewhat in the next volume. Back in the hospital though, Aki is actually asked if he wants to quit and he responds, how could I quit? And with us knowing his motivations, that's like all we need to hear. There's a little bit more restructuring of like divisions and stuff going on here, but again, this is not supposed to be a full reading experience replacement, so these kind of details I'm going to move on from. So stop commenting that I miss small details. It's impossible for me to get everything. Cutting back to Power and Denji after this though, they decide to put their heads together and try and take down their trainer, who says basically they need to get good enough to kill him by outsmarting him. These two are known for their brains, so that makes sense. Not being smart with their brains, stupid with them. Power even says, let's murder him with our intellect, to which Denji responds, oh man, I feel like I've gotten way smarter already. And we see their grand thunkamakating come to fruition tomorrow when their trainer shows up at their apartment saying, damn punks ditched my training. Behind the door is, this is actually kind of funny and got a laugh out of me, a Power who's now wearing glasses and a Denji who's now wearing glasses, because like in court, how often people fake wearing glasses to look more intelligent or more justly, because they're trying to not be convicted of their crimes, wearing glasses changes people's perception of you. They're trying to appear smart. Or they just actually think wearing glasses makes them smarter. It's probably the latter. And as soon as their trainer puts a hand on their apartment door, Power launches one of her blood spheres through it, then brings down a ton of blood from the rooftop as Denji drops down from the floor above behind the trainer and takes a swing with his axe, but no he doesn't. The trainer dodges the spear from the front easily, ducks below the ones coming down from above, and does a spinning kick, knocking Denji unconscious. And he says, that was your best try yet. So cornered prey will use their brains. Use your heads even more. There are two reasons you lost to me. One, Power uses too much blood fighting like that. Her actual body ends up anemic. And two, Denji, you couldn't predict my attack. You did good this time. We're done for the day. I'm going drinking, because it's been established this guy's a severe alcoholic. Denji is getting up though and says, Power, he said we're done for the day. She responds, lucky us, and something's spinning through the air. It's a knife to the head. Denji just gets a knife to the brain, and his trainer calls out, beast should never trust a hunter. I think he then continued their training throughout the day and killed them time and time again, which Chainsaw Man is getting genuine laughs out of me now, damn it. We see Aki has actually gone to the prison where this agency holds all the devils they've captured alive, so their agents can come in and make additional deals with them. And they take Aki to the future devil, and Aki makes a deal with him after allowing the devil to see his future, and the conditions are that that devil wants to live in Aki's left eye because he actually wants to witness in person Aki's death because he looked in his future, and apparently it's the worst way to die imaginable. Cannot think of a more terrifying thing to be told. Oh, you're gonna die in the worst way I, the embodiment of future, have ever seen. Me. Before he meets with the devil they're taking him to make an agreement with though, we'll learn that Aki actually received a bunch of letters that apparently belonged to Himeno, and now he knows how he felt about her, kind of more solidifying his motivations to be even sadder. Cutting back to Power and Denji one last time, a lot of back and forth narratively for this one. We see that they have improved over some span of time. The manga doesn't really clarify enough for their trainer to be like, you're good enough to go in the field, awesome. And Denji's apparently not even that resentful to the trainer anymore, because he says, hey, you made me better, which means I'm more likely to kill the gun devil, which means I'm more likely to get what I want from Makima. His motivations are still his motivations. Makima is having dinner though with Power and Denji's trainer, and he starts talking about how he actually has begun to care for Denji and Power, and in his old alcohol-riddled state, as he puts it, he's becoming soft because he shouldn't care about these two. We also get a really important, I think, character building moment from Makima where she says, all I want is to save as many people from the devils as possible. It's been decided if this mission succeeds, the existence of Division 4 will be aggressively reported on. Then Division 4 will have more freedom to operate, and we can save even more people from devils. To which the trainer responds, Liar. And Makima just smiles. Creepy. Makima is somehow the most scary person in Chainsaw Man at this point because she can pop you like a zit. Back with the Machete Super Devil and the gang he's with, the big takeaway from this meeting though is apparently in the aftermath of the death of the Super Machete Devil's grandfather, the one who owned all of Denji's debt, they were left with the ability still to create zombies, or at least they found something in that scene that was still enough of the zombie devil left to bring in that ability. So now they have an army of zombies of their own within a building. Makima meets with some gangsters though who apparently were acting with the gun devil and made contracts with him for just money. Nothing beyond that. Apparently they just paid a certain amount of money. And this is like a respectable enough criminal to be like, look, some of my guys did this and they shouldn't have. I will give you their names and you can take them to prison. Makima though asks for more, even though this is quite a bit of cooperation, saying that she wants names of not only people within this man's gang, but also of his rivals in the city. The leader of the gang is like, no, I'm not gonna be a snitch for people outside my own syndicate. If I did that, I'd be murdered. And another extremely flawed argument about how this gang existing and its rival gangs keep out the foreign gangs, and so they should actually be thankful that the gangs within the city, it's just bullshit that Makima absolutely sees through. And to demonstrate how she saw through it, she holds up a leaking paper bag and puts it on the table in front of him and says, the eyeballs of all of your loved ones are in that bag. And they open it, and they are, and she says, we can put them back in your loved ones if you give me the information you want. Someone tries to hit her, and of course she just uses her devil power to just like blood out of them. And she finishes off by saying, your necessary evil, the argument the guy made, is just an excuse to justify your own crimes. Those excuses are unnecessary to society. The truly necessary evils are always kept collared and controlled by the state. Makima! Are we gonna get a manifesto? I would read Makima's manifesto, absolutely. We cut from here to the woman who commands the Machete Super Devil around, walking with him, saying, the basement and first floor exits are surrounded by Devil Extermination Division 2 and the police. Special Division 4 is handling all suppression efforts inside the building. We'll kill as many public safety agents as possible and take Denji's heart. Afterward, you and I at least should be able to escape if I use the snake. I'll kill Denji, the Machete Super Devil says. And one thing I would like to criticize at this point about the structure of Chainsaw Man as a whole is there is just so much next things happening without enough really setup or communication, where you're constantly having to kind of try and go back and figure out what's going on and why. And maybe I'm just an idiot, very willing to admit that. But I've read other mangas that have way smoother transitions between sequences, and I'm kind of needing that here. But we cut to the agents outside and see the trainer talking to Denji and Power, saying, there is no plan. We're throwing every single Special Division agent at the building. That's still a plan. And we get a rundown of all of the agents that apparently are not in the same division as Denji, but are like similarly powered, who are also being sent into this building. We have a shark-powered devil who can swim through any surface and have his head turn into a giant shark. F***ing awesome. The violence fiend, who's apparently so powerful they have to keep some kind of mask on him to like reduce his insane power levels. The spider devil, and oddly the angel devil, who we'll learn a lot more about in the next volume. But apparently she siphons off life force directly, so rogue. But this volume ends with the attack beginning with all these fiends and Aki running into the woman in charge who works for the gun devil. And just when you think, oh no, she's already proven herself to be a big enough threat, apparently she has also made a deal with the ghost devil, and the ghost devil in its full form drops down in front of Aki. And she instructs it, ghost. And she instructs it, ghost, kill him. And you know I can't leave off there. Too big a cliffhanger. This fight, though, goes in a really cool direction, and this is where Chainsaw Man, in my humble opinion, shines. While there's not always the best communication of what's happening, it always looks damn good. And we see the advantage that the Future Devil actually gave Aki is the ability to see a slight sliver into the future, but not always a clear picture, enough to certainly help him in combat, though the Ghost Devil ends up grabbing him with one of its mini arms by the throat and picking him up. We get one last flashback re-emphasizing the smoking habit that Aki picked up because of Himeno. And despite being told to crush Aki, the Ghost Devil actually hands him a cigarette that has a written message on it saying, easy revenge. Aki then walks under the ghost unmolested. Himeno told me that because the Ghost Devil has no eyes, what it sees is fear. And we see in Aki's mind he's walking through a field of flowers. And he thinks to himself, Himeno, I'll join you soon. Before he decapitates the Ghost Devil. The woman, who I think is still unnamed, says Snake, obviously about to attack Aki with one of her remaining devils. But Aki just looks at her and says, don't kill her, which makes her be like, what? what? And there's a knife to their throat. Kobini, who I still want to call Kenobi because dyslexia, has a knife to her throat and snuck up behind her, so they actually have her subdued. Neat. Denji and Power are actually taking an elevator ride up, I assume to try and find the machete super devil, and Power's eating a rotting zombie arm. Gross. The elevator door opens and Power sees a crap ton of zombies that don't notice them at first, and Denji's like, we can just actually leave if you don't make any Anshis fighting them. Power just charges out of the elevator and starts butchering all of the zombies, and Denji's like, alright, and hits the elevator button further up, leaving Power to do her massacring, which she does exceptionally well. But when it gets to the floor I guess Denji was trying to go to, it opens and just, there's the machete super devil, and that's how Chainsaw Man does its storytelling. Cool. The machete super devil says, we're willing to surrender depending on your attitude. All we want is closure for our anger, that's it. Denji, you murdered their friends and my granddad. We want you to make things right. Denji says, I killed your buddies and your grandpa because they turned into zombies, dude. Which, like, very good point. But the machete super devil just says, don't lie to me. Uneducated idiots are always so quick to lie. Why wouldn't you believe him? You saw the zombies. I don't understand this guy at all. And then he continues his insane logic with, but that doesn't matter. Even if that were true, zombies were once human. Don't you feel guilty for killing them? No! The key word there is once human. They aren't fucking human anymore, my guy. It's like watching Cujo and seeing someone put down a rabid dog and being like, you killed a dog. I mean, yeah, but not really. Denji responds, not one bit, which, like, if I killed someone because they turned to a zombie, I'd be traumatized as hell. I'd feel terrible. But I also wouldn't feel like I killed a person. There's a big difference in why I'd feel traumatized and terrible. One is the tragedy of the person's condition, you having to put them out of their misery, which you have to do. The other is murder. But I also get corrected of something here, because apparently he's not the machete super devil, because he says, I've gone through some changes myself by Sorari's doing. That's the woman's name. I'll remember that. Me and names, we don't get along. I guess my physical heart was replaced with the Katana devil, but even I can't sleep well on nights when I've slipped up and killed zombies. You're the only one who doesn't have a human heart anymore. If you have any semblance of a human consciousness left, how about you let us kill you without a fight? That is quite, and I mean this quite frankly, like straight up, not like, oh, maybe I need to think about it. The worst argument I have ever seen put forward from an antagonist. And I want to clarify, not necessarily a criticism of Chainsaw Man, because if this character is supposed to be an idiot, that's fine. You can make stupid arguments. I'll just be looking for him being a consistent idiot in the future, because that was just fucking dumb. And I'm well aware someone could say, oh, he's just trying to manipulate what he sees as a dumb kid, but I have not been told that he has any kind of knowledge of the type of person that Denji is, so it really comes across like a stranger just coming up to someone and being like, you've killed the undead, therefore you're guilty enough that you should let us murder you. And what I love about this, and makes me like completely forgive this horrible argument, is Denji just goes like, no, like, absolutely not. Are you stupid? So as long as that guy's character consistently remains pretty dumb, I actually like this beat in the story, because it's just like a terrible argument put forward to the point where even Denji's like, no, kill you. And that's what Denji does. He activates his chainsaw powers and the fight commences. And due to long, convoluted manga fight reasons, they end up on a train, and Denji is able to take him down by actually activating a part of his power I believe we haven't seen yet, which is ejecting a chainsaw from his leg and slicing the machete devil in half. But not like this way, flat out bisecting him way, which I mentioned earlier. Setup and payoff. The Lord of the Rings of videos right here. And yes, super devils can heal from even this, but because we see in the aftermath, Denji has this guy put back together and restrained so that he can start a tournament. And when Aki arrives, he explains the tournament is him and Aki will kick this dude in the and whoever gets the loudest scream wins the tournament. And at first, Aki's like, that's immature, that's stupid. This guy killed Himeno. Yes. And we see that Aki and Denji bond over kicking this guy in the and Aki thinks to himself, Himeno, can you hear this up in heaven? It's a requiem from us to you. Here we cut to Makima in front of her superiors saying, terrorist attack was instigated by a former civilian devil hunter named Akane Sawatari. Got the name. Akane. Not gonna just call her the woman who works for the gun devil again. She made a contract with the Gun Devil and distributed guns to the Yakuza. They said that Swatari demanded the Chainsaw Devil's heart as payment. And why did Swatari want the Chainsaw Devil's heart? Well, before we could obtain that information, and we see that despite Aki actually having gotten her restrained, Akane somehow used her devil power to have the Snake Devil come in and eat her, killing her before she could be taken prisoner. Whether or not she's actually dead, though, I'm skeptical. During this operation, we seized 1.4 kilos of Gun Devil flesh from within the building. When combined with the 5 kilos already in public safety possession, our collective finally moved towards the Gun Devil itself, to which her superior responds, "It's finally time." Toward where? Denji's having a nightmare. See, we just cut to the next thing. And it involves Pochita behind a wall telling him, "Denji, no matter what, don't open." And he wakes up, like scared, and that's kind of terrifying. I didn't think you could be scary, but that was spooked. I was spooked. When he wakes up, though, he sees that Power has grown these really large horns, and apparently she's over-blooded and needs to have some of her blood drained, happening because she murdered and drank and ate the blood of a lot of zombies. Maybe the grossest thing she's done. No, she didn't flush her poos. That's still the grossest thing she's done. The Shark Devil, apparently, though, has taken an affinity to Denji and is just introduced as someone who's going to be following around for a while. Don't really know why, but this is a thing, and he behaves more like a dog than even Pochita did. But out of pretty much what feels like nowhere, Makima asks Denji to go on a date with her, and they go see 3 movies back to back to back. The first 2, Denji feels nothing during, and he sees that Makima also feels like nothing during. And the final movie, though, makes him cry, and he doesn't want Makima to see him cry, but he looks over and she's crying. And despite actually after the first 2 movies saying he'd make not just like movies, Denji after the third one is like, "I'm gonna remember that forever. That was an amazing movie." And then Denji even asks her, "Do you think I have a heart?" She responds, "Why would you ask that?" And he says, "No real reason." But she gives him a big hug and says, "You do." And Denji thinks, I do. And like, why are we getting wholesome here all of a sudden? Now I'm feeling warm and fuzzy. I wasn't expecting to feel warm and fuzzy. That was a really sweet, cute little date. And thank you, Chainsaw Man, for not weirdly making it about breastises again. Good job. Being in a great mood, though, Denji is just walking about the city thinking of how wonderful that was and how he does have a heart. Someone even offers him a flower and he's like, "Oh, this is pretty too," and he eats it. He still has some social norms to learn. It's okay. It starts raining, though, which makes Denji run into a phone booth where he's joined by a random woman who is laughing at him because apparently he looks like her dog. And to continue this flirtation, Denji just vomits up the flower and hands it to her, to which she thinks is adorable or is maybe a magic trick. And at this point, I was like, oh, she's gonna be a bad guy, and guess what? She's a bad guy. When the rain stops, she invites Denji to come down to her shop because she's just as weird as him, and he manages to get there before even she does. She gets Denji to try coffee, which he does not like. Don't worry, everyone starts off hating coffee, Denji, but pretty soon you'll need it to get out of bed in the morning without wanting to slit someone's throat. She's clearly flirting with Denji a lot, which makes him think like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to choose between this person who's obviously gonna turn out to be a villain and not someone who's actually gonna be a genuine romantic interest for him, and Makima. Which will he end up with? We cut to Aki working with the Angel Devil, very cool name, and after they kill a devil together, they realize that it recently ate a human civilian devil hunter, and Aki wants to put it out of its misery. The Angel Devil says no, humans should die suffering, to which Aki puts him out of his misery, because Aki's not a fucking monster. Jesus, Angel Devil. Where's the angel part of the name? God! They actually do clarify that they're more devil than angel, but like, you'd think enough mercy with the angel part to not just watch someone half-digested suffering and being like, that's your natural state and where you belong. Denji goes back every day that week, though, to hang out with his new romantic interest threat. And after some very heavy-handed flirting from her, she ends up inviting him to go to the school with her that night when it's abandoned and empty. Mainly because Denji hasn't been to school ever and she wants to give him the school experience. We cut here to some random human who looks super duper messed up, making a deal with the Typhoon Devil. Tatsuki Fujimoto needs all of the credit in the world for not only coming up with the great premise of the devils, but constantly picking great ideas for devils. But this guy has made a deal with the Typhoon Devil to be able to use its powers for the rest of his life if he brings it Denji. We cut to the school that night where Denji is able to have the school experience with his new threat love interest, and she's clearly trying to seduce him with skinny dipping. It starts raining, they go back inside, but when she excuses herself to use the restroom, she is attacked by this man who made a deal with the Typhoon Devil, and he says, I know who you are. You're the cheese to lure the mouse into the open. I'm gonna cut some skin off your face, gouge out an eye, and show him to Chainsaw and tell him this. Your woman is still alive. Couldn't tell you why, but when I do that, most guys willingly do anything I say. After that, I'll just kill him nice and easy. All I need from you is from skin. I don't want your life. To which this woman does some serious MMA shit, chokes him out and kills him, and speaks a whole lot of Russian. Hold up.
День моего свидания с Джейн. Все готово. Утром мы пойдем вместе в церковь. Мы будем пить кофе и есть омлеты в кафе. После того, как мы прогуляемся в парке, мы пойдем в аквариум и увидим любимых Джейн, дельфинов и пингвинов. После обеда мы отдохнем. Итак, что мы сделали утром? Мы будем говорить об этом, пока не вспомним. Мы не вспомним. И ночью мы будем спать в церкви.
So that's what the Russian said. And then she continues, "It was you who trapped us in the school with this storm, wasn't it, Typhoon?" To which the devil responds, "I had no idea that you were here, Lady Reze. I'll look the other way this time if you obey me for a little while. Now get rid of the body." Super bad guy, it seems, who can just order around devils. Okay. And they end up on like a city overlook, and she says, "My boss at the cafe told me about this place. He says it has the best view of the fireworks, and we'll have it all to ourselves because it's top secret. Oh yeah? Hey Denji, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I stand by what I said. Your situation really is messed up. Like making a 16-year-old fight devils to the death, not even letting him go to school. The government shouldn't allow that. Will you quit your job and run away with me? I'll make you happy. I'll always protect you. Please?" And like, villain exploiting Denji's biggest weakness. Yeah, that works. Only Denji would believably hear someone he met like that week be like, "Hey, you want to run away and abandon our lives together because I think the government's treating you unfair?" And be like, "Yeah, that makes sense. That's socially normal." These are probably both my favorite entries for Chainsaw Man yet. I still have a lot of gripes when it comes to structure and some of the humor, but I am being charmed with just how consistently weird it is and an increased frequency of the humor actually landing with me, which of course does help quite a bit. I'm a big creature design slut, so of course there I'm having a wonderful time looking at the truly just hitting different types of monsters that Chainsaw Man brings to the table. I can say confidently it's not going to be in my favorite stories of all time, but I like it. I like Chainsaw Man. I do not love it. I do not think it's bad. I'm pretty much a little bit more in the positive than negative when it comes to the grand needle spectrum. In the day and age of the internet, I'm not supposed to say that everything's supposed to be the greatest or the worst thing ever. Maybe I'll love it by the end of it. And to know for sure, you'll have to tune in next week. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. I got books, I got merch, and have a good one, y'all. Peace.